After a brief spike, Missouri Valley's active COVID case count is now in single digits. Hello, this is KMVC News. I'm Shay Wilson. Missouri Valley's active COVID-19 case count on October 6th was 35. As KMVC News hits the web on October 13th, it's 3. That's a drop of more than 90% during the week. And the 3 cases represent 0.2% of the campus population. It's the lowest number of cases since the semester began on August 20th. The Missouri Valley Nonprofit Leadership Alliance is doing its best to make sure that members of the community are not going hungry. KMVC's Marina Diaz reports how a new purchase is benefiting the effort.
The Nonprofit Leadership Alliance just received a new commercial refrigerator and freezer to help with the Food Recovery Network.
Last week on Monday, we got our fridges and freezers in the mail, and it was great, and they got them put in, and then on Friday, we were finally able to actually use them and put food on them.
The equipment allows the program to save more food than they could ever before.
So now we can take that food straight off the line in the cafeteria, take it to the refrigerators, take it to the freezers where we can keep it overnight. This allows us to be able to pull the cafeteria food at night as well, so that way the next day we can have even more food.
The Alliance recovered over 600 pounds of food last year, according to the Assistant Professor of Nonprofit Leadership, Jamie Goldnaylor.
And we'll be able to distribute food even when students aren't here on campus. We will have that kind of capacity now. So I think about it, and I think about where we started and where we are now, and it's been the work of every group of kids that I've worked with in the past 5 years. Every single one of them has played a role in getting us to where we are now.
The Food Recovery Network is currently helping one family and 25 members and is looking forward to receiving a new heat sealer in the next 2 weeks. Marina Diaz, KMVC News.
And the building is by the square in Marshall. Missouri Valley College starts registration for spring 21 classes this week. KMVC's Sakina Kamuro reports on how the registration of classes is going to be due to the COVID situation.
The students' registration of classes with their advisor is going to look a little different this semester when compared to before COVID pandemic. Each advisor will take a different measure to avoid COVID and keep social distancing. Associate Professor Claire Schmidt says she makes good use of both online and face-to-face meetings when she advises students for the registration.
And I have office hours both online and in person. So I might have a person in my office 6 feet away, or I might be meeting with someone on my computer and talking one-on-one on Zoom. So I think I'm actually meeting more with students now than I was before because I have so many more ways to meet with people.
Advising for the class registration differs from advisor to advisor, and they also have different ways to advise students. Associate Dean of Students Elizabeth Bellamy says communication is key to be successful.
I would say my most important tip would be communication, communication, communication. So we really want students to use us as resources in the Student Success Center, talk to their academic advisors, talk to me, Associate Dean of Students. I encourage them to talk with other faculty members as a resource too for advising tips and to learn more about career opportunities, because your career choices are really tied to your course choices as well.
Advising helps students for registration and plan out for graduation. However, Schmidt says it is also important for students to plan out their classes by themselves and see if they can double major or minor something, because learning something new might be helpful in the future. Sakina Kamuro, KMVC News.
Missouri Valley's spring semester is scheduled to start on January 21st. The later start is for cleaning and sanitizing. The spring semester schedule is condensed like the fall semester is, and like fall break for this semester, a spring break is not part of the 2021 schedule. Many Missouri Valley College students don't have access to a vehicle, and that means for some that if they miss the cafeteria hours, they may not get to eat. Missouri Valley's Thor's Pantry is open once again to help hungry students. Thor's Pantry, now ran by Missouri Valley College's Student Success Center, is a food service for students who may be having a hard time finding proper time to eat food from the cafeteria. Thor's Pantry coordinator and Student Success Advisor, Gabi Morales, says Thor's Pantry is open to students for any reason.
That is our hope up with Thor's Pantry. So what Thor's Pantry provides is food services for students who live on campus and off campus.
Morales says the service is no cost to students at all.
Everything in Thor's Pantry is free, so it's designed to help students who may still be hungry when the cafeteria isn't open, or if they're here over break, or for whatever reason, that's what it's there for. It's there to provide food for students who may need it.
For many students, especially during spring 2020 semester, Thor's Pantry provided many meals for students unable to go home. Thor's Pantry is available to any and all students at Missouri Valley College. Is part of the MVC Cares initiative and relies on donations from outside the school. The COVID-19 pandemic is influencing students' internships and job searches. The National Association of Colleges and Employers in May found that 22% of employers had revoked internship offers in light of COVID-19. Internships are a requirement for some degree programs at Missouri Valley, like for mass communication. KMVC's Sakina Komuro reports how the internship situation is affecting students at Missouri Valley.
Getting internships after COVID is a lot different from before COVID pandemic. Some students ended up doing internship online or doing something that's related to their job, but not exactly the job they want to do. Career planner Beth McCrary says there are still things students can prepare for internships in this situation.
You want to look at your courses that you're taking and really ask yourself, are those the courses that I need to take that are going to give me the skills to be employable? Keep your resume updated. Keep a cover letter on hand to send out immediately when a job or an internship comes up. And network. Join LinkedIn, talk to family members and other friends who might also know of jobs that would be available to you.
This COVID situation influences students both physically and mentally. MVC senior student Lauren Dixon says how COVID has influenced her internship.
COVID-19 has impacted my ability to complete an internship over the summer 2020. I had to contact my internship supervisor, coordinator, to ask them if they were still providing the opportunity. After mountains of paperwork, a lot of negotiation and traveling back and forth, I've been able to complete my internship, and I'm still on the process of doing even more during the winter intersession.
This COVID situation can be stressful, but it's important to check back for new listings and signing up for alerts. Sakina Kamuro, KMVC News.
Students can get help for internships or applying for jobs at the Student Success Center in Ferguson Center. Students find all types of ways to make money while at school. Some students work odd hours, some work odd jobs, and some are more entrepreneurial. KMVC's Leland Harvey reports on the one Missouri Valley student whose raw ambition is the thread to some success.
Torian Bergeron is a sophomore at Missouri Valley College. He was born and raised in Houston, Texas, where he found a love for clothes.
It's tough, man, starting off, but I fell in love with it, honestly. I've been having lots of fun with it because, fashion is something I love to do. So I started off actually buying the material myself. I bought the machines and everything to do it myself when I was back home in Houston. And starting off, I put a lot of time into it.
The name of your brand is very important. Torian put a lot of thought into naming his.
When you think of raw, you think of the word. You think of something that's unfiltered, or somebody that's not perfect. But when you get ambition, you think of the grind, the effort you put in to work towards perfection. Even though you're knowing that you're not perfect, you're still putting in that grind day in and day out to work towards perfection. So that's how I came up with raw ambition. All right, I might need somebody to get this one.
Torian said business is doing well, and he hopes to be getting some new winter apparel in as the winter months start to arrive. Leland Harvey, KMVC News.
The winter sports season has been affected by COVID-19 just like everything else. KMVC's Cooper Bryant shows us how the Missouri Valley basketball programs are trying to prepare heading into their seasons.
Missouri Valley College basketball, both men's and women's, began their first practices of their 2021 season on October 1st. Their season schedule, just like every other sport on campus, has changed and is being taken day by day. But men's basketball coach Chad Lance says that it hasn't affected how him and his team prepare for the upcoming season.
Absolutely not. We try to stay in the same regimen throughout our preseason through our lifting and conditioning, and then later on in that we try to get into some small group stuff, but our practices and everything has been identical.
Women's basketball head coach Andre Scott says that the adjusted schedule is actually a benefit for his team.
We started a little bit later just for us just not to feel so much overwhelmed and kind of exhausted. But with our schedule kind of getting moved around quite a bit, it gave us a little bit extra time to get ourselves prepared for our first game.
Coach Lance says that he is looking forward to the season and keeping an eye out on who will step up as a leader for his squad on the back of losing 2 all-conference players and 1 all-conference honorable mention from last season.
We got a lot of new faces, got a lot of young freshmen, so it's going to be growth and it's going to be by committee as well.
While Coach Scott says that he and his team are definitely excited about the return of former All-American Chanel Tolley for her senior season.
Yeah, Chanel's the face of our program. Besides our program, she's a leader on our campus. She's a leader for the Harvard American Athletic Conference and the little council meeting that they have. But it's perfect to always have a returner back like that. Having a 4-year player, she's an All-American and an All-Conference player. She changes our dynamic and she makes us better every time she's on the floor.
The men's basketball team tips off their season at Missouri Baptist University on November 3rd, while the women's team tips off their season at home against Hannibal LaGrange University on November 10th. Cooper Bryant, KMVC News.
Schedules are tentative at this point respective to COVID protocols. Home games are streamed on the Viking Sports Network through valleywill.com. When the Heart of America Athletic Conference first released the 2020 football schedule, October 10th was the bye week before heading into divisional play. That stayed true after the schedule was adjusted for COVID. Then the 10th became the makeup date after the game against Culver Stockton was postponed. Then the 10th became the new date for the game against Mid-America Nazarene. That was originally set for November 7th after the CSC game was postponed a second time. In the end, it was a bye week for the football team as the game against the Pioneers was postponed. The Heart hasn't announced a makeup date, although the original November 7th date is open for both teams. The Valley women's soccer team had a week of postponements. The game at Baker's is now set for November 9th. Tuesday's home match against Benedictine is pushed to November 4th, and the home contest against Culver Stockton for the 17th is postponed. Although a new date for that isn't available at KMVC's deadline, the Vikings are still scheduled to play on the 17th. They're now facing William Penn on the road. The women's soccer team's last game was September 26th. The Missouri Valley men's soccer team is making its way through the schedule. The Vikings started quickly in their game against the Benedictine Ravens on October 6th, getting a goal in the game's second minute from Gianmarco Donini off a free kick. Kanan Dos Santos made it a 2-0 with his 4th goal of the year just 2 minutes later. The Vikings added a pair of goals and cruised to a 4-1 win over the Ravens. The Vikings finished their 2-0 week with a double overtime win on the road against the Baker Wildcats on October 10th. Julie Molas scored the game winner with just more than a minute remaining in the second 10-minute overtime. Valley is now 7-1-1 overall and 6-1-1 in the Heart. The Vikings are slated to play a non-conference game against Columbia College on October 14th before returning home to play Culver Stockton on October 17th. Missouri Valley's theater department performed the play Antigone over the weekend. KMVC's Leland Harvey reports that all the world's a stage, even in the age of social distancing.
Antigone follows the Theban Civil War and the siblings' battle for royalty and a battle for the crown. Can the actors portray the story while keeping their distance?
Antigone is an adaptation of a Greek tragedy, but in the 21st century. And it's basically family drama in a political setting.
The actors and audience must keep at least 6 feet from each other during the entire performance, adding another element that the actors must adapt to.
It has been kind of weird because you cannot really interact as much with the other characters, and also not being able to see each other with masks.
Regardless of the protocols, the theater department was able to put on their performance. Leland Harvey, KMVC News.
Antigone was written by the famous playwright Sophocles. It was written sometime around 441 BC. Thursday night's performance was streamed live, and access to the performance is through the Fine Arts Facebook page. That's KMVC News for this week. Thanks for watching. I'm Shay Wilson.